Johnson of Always Journal. And Alicia, tell us about you and your business and what it is that you do.
Thank you, ladies, all of you, for having me here. My name is Alicia Johnson, and I'm the creator of Always Journal. And Always Journal is a journaling community. It's dedicated to helping everyone to learn to journal with purpose, power, and passion, and to bring your new life into the now so that you understand and learn that your words are your currency, and we all have power. The kingdom of God is within us, and I teach you how to bring it out.
Now, I've been journaling since I was a little girl. I've been writing in diaries. I still write in books. I've even started video journaling.
Okay.
Am I doing that wrong?
It all depends.
Okay, tell me about that.
With Always Journal, we don't vent, we don't rehash the past. The only thing that we journal about, we speak things that are not as if they were. And so a lot of my clients and people that come to me initially is like, I don't want to journal. I don't want people to read my stuff. I don't want anybody knowing anything about me. If they read this, we all going down. So and I had a lot of journals like that. And so with that work, you understand that's not productive. And so the journaling work that we do, it's all about creating your new life.
So I guess tell us, why shouldn't we rehash the past, or why not talk about that feeling in your journal? Why wouldn't we do that?
Okay, so one of the things that you have to understand is that when I've journaled every single way possible. I have vented, I have written in frustration, I have written the happy things and all of that. And so when you go back and you reread those journals, the only thing it helps you to do is to see where you've come from. And so with the journaling work that we do with Always Journal, it helps you to see where you're going. And so as far as the way that we teach journaling, it's all about understanding that you and God are creating this new life together. A lot of times when we rehash the past, my husband and I, we learned this the hard way. Okay, I've taken one for the team, so you don't have to. But it's like when we would sit down and I would look back at my journals, and then do you remember this? Do you remember when this happened? And I would recount it the way I remembered it. He's like, no, that's not how it happened. And so I have my version. He has his version. And so there are always 2 or 3 versions of the same story. So you're never going to recount it just the way it happened. You're going to add something to it or take something away from it. So with the work that we do, as far as teaching people to journal with purpose, power, and passion, it's all about creating this new life with God. And so there are 3 components that we use to get the process going. So the first component is to understand that you are dedicating your journal. So you dedicate, a lot of people just start to write in their journal, dear diary, dear whatever. But this is a very specific process because you're actually understanding your God voice. You're actually understanding how God is speaking to you. And so we dedicate the journal to one area because the work that we do is very introspective and it's very deep. So you're going in. It's like a soul excavation. And so we choose one area that you're working with. And the reason we do that, we equate it to going to a chiropractor. When you go to a chiropractor and you get an adjustment in one vertebrae, it readjusts the entire spine. When you're doing this work and you dedicate your journal to one area, dear God, this journal is dedicated to the complete healing of my marriage. You're focused, you're pinpoint accurate in what you're doing. And so as it relates to the journaling work, when you're dedicating your journal, that's your focus. The next step of the process is to write a letter from God to yourself so that you understand that you are not creating this by yourself. So you imagine yourself, because before any changes can happen in your life, you have to imagine yourself as a little kid, because unless you go back to the beginning, things are not going to change. So you literally look at your dedication and you imagine yourself as a little child, and imagine yourself giving this dedication to God, your mother, your father, a guardian figure. And so you give it to God, say, God, will you help me with this dedication? And so you imagine what God would say to you. And this is where people actually learn their and understand their God voice. God is a God of abundance. God is a God of edification. God is a God of expansion, all of those things. So if that voice says something like, you are so dumb. I cannot believe that you're asking me this at this point. You know that's not your God voice. And so this kind of slows people down. And so when you hear that voice that says, Nico, yes, I'm so excited that you asked me this. Let's get this going. So that's your God voice. So you write that letter from God to yourself. So that's the second process. The third step in this work is to take those two documents, the dedication and your God letter, and then imagining that those two areas have come to fruition. And then you write a day in your new life. And so what does a complete day using the 24-hour clock look like based on what you've asked? And so that's how this journaling work is very different than what most people are used to, because it gets you in tune with your God voice. It gets you in tune with slowing yourself down so that you are relating to one area, and it helps you to work through all of those blocks that you may have, because it's a consistent 30-day process that you go through to get all of this stuff out.
Now, Alicia, I kind of think about journaling as an art. I kind of think about my peaceful place, you know, my maybe my candles, my hot chocolate, quiet, you know, my little comfy cozy blanket, alone with my thoughts, but then I hear nothing. How would you go about explaining to someone to block out that quiet noise in order to hear from God to start this process?
Okay, so you have thoughts, but they're not, are you getting a blank?
It's just so much that you don't know where to begin, and then it becomes negative.
Okay.
And so you kind of just forget about it altogether, but you know that there's something that you need to do. You need to start somewhere, but you just can't figure it out. And you don't want it to not be your God voice. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Okay, so one of the examples I use is I was at a place, this was when I started to journal. I was venting frustration and all of that. And you get to the point where it's like, God, my life is so much bigger than this.
Yes.
I need help. I need you to show me what this is. So I was sitting at my desk one day, and so I was just overwhelmed with everything, but I knew I needed to work on one area, but I wasn't sure what it was. And so I couldn't pinpoint anything. I was like, God, what am I supposed to do? I've got this, I've got PTA, I'm taking classes, I'm working, I just don't know what's mine to do. And so God was like, and I referenced my solar plexus area because that's where I get my God voice, that still small voice. And so God was like, why are you doing all of this stuff? I was like, because I have to. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I wear all of these hats. And so if it applies to Jesus, it applies to us. Ask, seek, and knock, okay? So God had me write on a sheet of paper, ask, A-S-K, for an entire week. Only do what you are asked to do. Only do what people seek you out for, or literally knock on your door or your cube. And so once you start to do that, I had legitimately 4 things to do. Okay, everything else I was inserting myself in. And so a lot of times that monkey mind and that chatter, we can't figure out what we're supposed to do, is because we're inserting ourselves in everything. But when you come, and a lot of times you just have to literally just rein your own self in.
Absolutely.
That's one exercise you can do. This week, I'm only responding to what people ask me to do, or seek me out for, or knock. That's it. And people are only, and you can rest assured that because in God's economy, nothing is ever wasted, that when someone specifically comes to you with a question, you know that it's been heavenly sent. Okay? If someone just comes to seek you out for something, they're seeking you out because God has laid you on their heart. But when you start to insert yourself in things, you might be a match or might not be a match. It may be your ego. It may be whatever, just inserting you in that thing. And so that's one way. And so once you start, and that's how you determine the truth of who you are.
Love it.
Because people are going
that.
to see, people are going to ask you exactly what God sends them to ask you. And so that kind of slows you down. So when you sit down to journal, then you can hone into what people are drawn to
Right.
for. for.
Thank
So I hope that
you.
helps.
Yes, absolutely.
That is interesting because I think if I like that. If someone asks, someone seeks you out, or if someone literally knocks, I think that would free up so much.
So much.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does. And you have
So
more.
much. Really
You have
does.
so much time. You have so much more time.
I guess
than you
we'd be
realize.
surprised how much, right?
Yes.
It really does.
Stop
I like
inserting
that.
yourself. Stop inserting yourself.
So, you've been doing this for how long now?
Who sent you? I've been journaling for years, well over, since I was like in high school, before high school, like 12 years old. And that's the thing, your purpose, passion, and your calling, you just instinctively do it. And so I've been journaling ever since I could write. So, yeah.
You spoke about not journaling in terms of venting or anything like that. So what do you say for those folks who feel like they have to get things out? They have a truth that they want to share, and I ask that question because I'm a firm believer that whatever you feel, you should give it to God, right? So if you feel hate for somebody, you need to be honest with the Lord and say, I hate that person. I wish they would get hit by a car, because those are your true and your authentic feelings. And you want the Lord to actually transform you.
Right.
And so you want to be truthful about, how you're feeling, because what can he do if you're not going to give him your authentic self? So what do you say about that with the journaling process?
Wonderful you asked that question. So with our process, always journal process, there are 30 days worth of journaling prompts. So you're not doing this alone. Okay. So you're guided through the process. But after that third day where we do the envisioning your new life, that's when the games begin. It's not that you don't deal with these things. You deal with it in a way so that it's propelling you and moving you into your new life. So for example, you know that your new life includes, let's say, a relationship. You want kids, you want to live in a certain place, your 24-hour day, you and your husband get together, you have whatever, okay? So after you write that new day, this is where you start to deal with all of those issues. What you have to understand is that we do things in a man-made progression. By that I mean God is a God of decency, God is a God of order. Everything that we do cycles through, okay? So everything that is done in a God-made way is done in a clockwise progression. We do things on earth in a man-made progression. So after you get that new life, what you do, you write down based on the 24-hour clock what your day looks like in your new life. And you write that down in chronological order from 12 to 3 a.m., 3 to 6 a.m., and on and on. With your current life, the stuff that you want to deal with, because everything we do in this process makes sense, it means something. You're going to write this in a reverse chronological order, because what you're doing is you're putting your new life in place and you're reversing the old life. So if you can imagine two wind tunnels.
Okay.
One is going this way, one is going that way. So they're going to what? Collide. Okay, that's why I tell people stuff is going to pop off. When you start to do this journaling work, stuff is going to pop off, but we handle it in a way so that it's done that, in a way that's decently and in order. So you look at your 12 to 3 a.m. in your new life, and you're doing you're dreaming, God is giving you visions, God is giving you, more clarity. But in your now life, you are up because somebody made you mad and you can't sleep, and you are flipping through the infomercials and you're buying mops and brooms and all of that.
Isn't that true?
You see that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and that's where the journaling work takes off, so that you can start to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be in a very productive way. Why were you up at 12 a.m.? I was up because I had an argument with such and such, and we really need to resolve this so that this will no longer be a block for me moving from my old life to my new life. And so it's okay to express those things that aren't pleasing to you, but you're doing it from the mindset that you are doing it to bring in your new life, not just to write it down, just to get get it out. You're doing it to get it out, but to also move to a higher place. And so that's how the work goes.
Journaling with a purpose. We will be right back with our guest, Alicia Johnson.
All right, welcome back to The Truth and the Church Girl. So I am one of Alicia Johnson's clients, and I want to talk to you about the time, because you mentioned the 24-hour clock. Let everyone know why you talk about the 24 clock and the significance of the timing in the 3-hour increments.
Oh, okay. The 24-hour clock. The reason I focus so much on the 24-hour clock is because in the world, we're taught to do things in compartments. If I can get my financial life together, then everything else is going to be okay. If I get my relationship together, then everything else is going to be okay. But the 24-hour day is there for us to use it in totality. But most of us use it in error. And so the way that I break it down so that people can see the balance and what we're supposed to do is that we are 12 hours for man and 12 hours for God, okay? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and render unto God what is God's. And so in order to understand this visually, if you draw just two circles, okay, and label one AM and PM and break it down as you would the face of a clock, 12, 3, 6, and 9, okay? Imagine the AM clock, 12 to 3, in that quadrant, you would just write God. 3 to 6, you will write God, because 12 to 3 a.m. is where you get your dreams and your visions, and God is speaking to you there in the silent place. 3 to 6 a.m. is where you pray, meditate, and spend time with God. That's another God quadrant. From 6 to 9 a.m., write man in that quadrant, and that's when you're beginning your work day, you're starting your commute, you're getting ready for work. 9 to 12 p.m., that's man's quadrant again. So you've got God, God, man, and man. So you move to that PM circle. 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., that's man again. You're in the middle of your work day, you're doing meetings and all of that. 3 to 6 p.m. is the close of your work day, and so that's man again. You're wrapping things up. 6 to 9 p.m. you're returning back home to your sanctuary, so that's God's time. You're with your family. You're back home in your sacred space. 9 to 12 you're closing your day with God and preparing for that dream cycle again. So when you look at that breakdown, those two circles side by side, you see that there are 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man. And when you look at it even more closely, it's very interesting to see that God requires the dark parts, the secret places, okay? And so once you understand that, then you realize that we are off balance, because the world teaches you how important time is, okay? If you get to work late too many times, you're going to get written up or you're going to get fired. If there's something that you need to finish, then you're going to have to work overtime. That's why they pay you time and a half or whatever to do overtime, because the world knows we're encroaching on your private time, okay? But God is so gracious that we can club a little bit too long, we can stay up a little bit too long, and we're shortchanging God all the time. But man won't let you shortchange. Okay?
That's right.
And that's why we do that 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man, to help people to bring that balance back and to understand that there's a time to be in the world, and there's a time to be in the heavens, in the spirit realm, because we have lost our God voice. Most people don't understand how to communicate with God. Most people don't understand their God voice. Most people we're taught in the church that, you know, your voice has to sound like the Bible, but everybody's voice doesn't sound like that.
Absolutely.
God speaks to me through drunk people, homeless people, numbers, and words, okay? And so once you understand your God voice, you're more keen to hearing, and you're more easily guided through the world. It behooves the world greatly for you not to understand your heavenly connection.
Okay. I'm going to read this scripture. 2 Timothy 4 and 3. It says, "For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. So, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. Telling folks that they need to do this and they need to do that. Talk to us about always journaling with a passion, a purpose, and power. Why would people be interested in getting with Alicia Johnson to do the Always Journal?
People would be interested in getting with Alicia Johnson to do Always Journal when your life ain't working right. That's why I got with Alicia Johnson and Always Journal, because my life was not working right. And I promised God, I couldn't do one more altar call. It was like, every Sunday, fix it, Jesus, fix it. I need help with this. And so the church is designed to get you to a place where you can pray about your pain. Okay, but to get you to break through your pain, they're going to lose a lot of business. Always Journal helps you to break through that pain so you can go higher. And so we're not supposed to stay at this level all the time. We're supposed to continually grow and go higher. And so that is why people will want to get with Always Journal, if you will, to complete that cycle so that you can go higher and go on to the next level. God is a God of expansion. God is a God of abundance. God is a God of edification. If you are going from 2013 to 2014 to 2015, trying to learn the same lesson over and over again, that's a problem.
Okay, great. Tell us about, and Simone, I want to hear from you because you've been working with her, but tell us about some of your, I know you can't tell her business or anything like that, but just some of the, some of the successes that you've had with folks that you've worked with.
The work that we do is it's sacred work, and that's what I knew that from the beginning, from the work that I just started to do, what God was revealing to me through my journaling work. But it wasn't until one morning, and that's one thing, people understand how serious I am because I only coach between 3 and 6 a.m. So if you want to work with me, it's a serious commitment because you have to get up at that time. And so one of the things that I realized one morning, my client, there's certain documents that I ask for as you're doing the journaling work. And so one of the documents is your dedication. And so with that dedication, this is how serious God showed me this process is. When you write that dedication, when you submit yourself unto the Lord, and when you are writing this down, that dedication, that person's heart and my heart, like God, it's that person and then God's heart. I am the thin membrane in between God's child and God. And so that's how sacred this work is. Some of my clients, and it's very interesting, it's very heartbreaking a lot of times because I've worked with people that are terminally ill, people that, just different areas, people that are creative. They just want to, have their creativity flow. People with marriage issues, people that are trying to deal better with their children. So it runs the gamut from the terminally ill to those just wanting to have a better life. And so those are the types of people I work with. Yeah.
Well, like, what is the process as far as joining the business that you do? As far as with journaling, like if I was interested, like how would I connect with you?
Okay, I have a website, www.alwaysjournal.com. And in order for you to work with me like one-on-one individually, you have to complete the 30-day journaling process, which there are 30 days worth of prompts. And the reason we do that is because the journaling work is so serious that if you're not committed with your own journaling progression during that 30 days, I can't take you there. I can only you can only rise as high as you allow someone else to go. And so I expect people to go high, to want to do it. So unless you are ready to, by showing me that you have committed and completed that 30-day process, then we can't work together. But after you've completed that 30-day process, then we develop your program, your journaling prompt specifically for whatever situation you want to work through. We do it together prayerfully. We do it together consistently. And so we make sure that my job isn't done until your new life starts to overtake your now life.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different than the regular coaching work. It's not that one day a week for an hour and 30 minutes. We go in. So
Wow.
we go in.
Wow, I like that. That shows commitment. If they're going to do it for 30 days and then get with you. That's Simone?
One thing that I really honestly love about Alicia Johnson Always Journal is that she's definitely committed. We meet 7 times a week on via like face chatting online. Like she said, we meet at 5 o'clock in the morning, and working with her has definitely removed a layer. Like she said, you know that there's more to life than just going to church and quoting scripture. How can I really see God in my, like, there has to be more to life. And I love church. I love the fellowship, but there's more work that has to be done. Hands-on working, like even teaching us how to, the pain of disappointment, feeling stagnant is a part of the process. Sometimes we think that because we're saved, everything is going to be on the up and up. But moving through the pain and the place of being uncomfortable and knowing like this doesn't feel good, when I normally would want to revert back to my old way of self-medicate myself through clubbing, drinking, working with her has taught me that this is a part of the process and it's inevitable that you go through this. So instead of breaking the cycle, because there were a lot of cycles that I was repeating because I wasn't completing the cycle, it makes sense now. So I love working with her, and it makes me love the Lord more on a different level.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you. Look into that camera. I believe that's your camera right there, and tell the folks whatever you want them to know, and also let them know where they can find you, where they can reach out to you if they were interested in doing Always Journal.
Okay, thank you. You can find me on the internet, www.alwaysjournal.com. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, all those social media things, Instagram, and what's the other one? Twitter, yeah. Under the handle Always Journal. And if there's one thing that I can share with anyone and everyone who's watching, is that no matter where you are, please understand that there is nothing wasted in God's